And welcome to another episode of JP and the Beans Talk. As always, I'm your co-host Beans with my other co-host.
Here's JP. Here we go.
Absolutely
Sponsored by Gatorade this time.
Yes.
So really, that's an improvement over the last time we were here with. I still have the mason jar, I guess, ball mason jar. But you've gone big league. So congrats.
I had to get the electrolytes back in me. It's been a long day. But a good long day, not like a bad, it lasted forever kind of day.
Absolutely. Well, at least you're hydrating appropriately. You're approaching things, the right way.
Getting big and strong.
It's important. You're a growing boy, and you continue
absolutely.
to...
Still growing at 23, in case anyone was wondering, in a good way, not a bad way.
So I had one of those spectacular encounters that everybody can relate to and enjoy greatly, where I interacted with a elderly relative that I haven't seen for I don't know how long enough that I don't remember what their name is. I had to be reminded by my mom.
That's great.
I felt super juvenile. But this particular elderly relative was like, "Have you grown 4 inches since I last saw you?" It's like, I truly don't know. Like, when was the last time we interacted? I don't know. Has it been, 18 years? If so, perhaps.
4 inches which way?
Right, but if it's been in the last decade, no.
But if it was from when I was 12,
I couldn't
maybe a few.
I'm a firm 33 years old, and I can't say that I've been asked the question related to have you grown. I don't
how
even know,
old
man.
are they?
They weren't old enough for that to really be an inquiry, right? Like, probably in their 60s, 70s at most. And so I'm just like, what are we doing here exactly? So, anyhow. Well, hi there. So, little fandom. You can just go that way. This tends to happen. So anyhow, that was my night. You exerted yourself,
yes.
Pushed yourself
Played
physically.
Sports.
Wow, great for you. And I'm
an athlete
and interacted with elderly relatives.
Gatorade.
So you're trending in the right direction. I'm clearly settling.
You're doing great.
This is my cry for help.
Don't let a 70-year-old woman tear you down.
For help.
Man.
It's not even subconscious. It's conscious. It's out there. Help me. So there
Maybe
we
the
go.
last time they saw you was when you were 16.
I hope so. I hope so. Who knows, you guys? Who knows? So anyway,
you read Thor.
I did. Let's just segue into it. Like, without a segue, boom! Thor, folks, by Jason Aaron. Have you had a chance to piece through this?
I have, but I do know what happens.
Take a peek at the pages.
So it's been a while.
So we're going to try a little bit of a different format here, boys and girls. We're going to definitely dive into a text on a regular basis. And in addition to that, we'll also continue to provide you the content that I'm sure you've been loving, which is our 2 cents, maybe even 3 cents on the latest multimedia offering from the Marvel demigods.
I was going to say, I think you're overselling me. I was going to say maybe 1.50 cents.
Sure. Okay. So no more than 4 cents. We're going to keep it at a modest. We're for the people, right? We're an economical option here. But we also want to make sure that we continue to stay true to our roots of loving the comic text. And so one of my, I'm going to say recent favorites, this was I'm going to say within the last 2 years, I don't think it's been quite that long, but my boy Mike Mendoza of Fresh Time fame, R.I.P. Ames Fresh Time, a fellow comic book lover, recommended this particular novel to me, and it is exquisite. So our boy Thor, part of what is spectacular about this particular tale is, listen, the art is tremendous, but the author, Jason Aaron, takes Thor and does with Thor what I think great, to make a comparison, Superman comics often do, which is, listen, if you've got a character like Thor, or you've got a character like Superman that has an enormous power set, you go big, you go cosmic, and that's exactly where Jason Aaron goes here. So
blow him up.
Oh, blow him up. So
explosions, deaths.
Oh, all these things.
Thor riding a goat because he's got 2 of them. Never forget that.
That's one of my favorite parts, that he rides like a literal humongous goat.
And he's got 2 of them.
It's incredible.
Nasher and Smasher.
Gnasher, yes. Smasher, no. But I can't correct it with what I know that it actually is. But
I went for the whole Santa thing.
I love it. I love it. You know, that's probably what it should be. I think the artist's name is Esad Ribic. Anyway, back to my guy, Jason Aaron. Jason goes cosmic. So Thor, super powerful, about as OG as you can imagine. But here's the deal. He runs into this fella by the name of Gore the God Butcher. Okay, who's Gore the God Butcher? Never before seen in comics. Jason Aaron presents to us an original creation, an original bad guy, and he is tremendous. He is evil. This dude has been, according to our present-day timeline, for thousands of years, hunting down gods and, as his name would suggest, butchering them. So not this quick little boom, bullet-to-the-head assassination, but some legit, nasty, drawn-out, how can I make you die, like, slowly and as painfully as possible? Gore's bad. He is not a good fella. Thor, as it turns out, has encountered Gore many moons ago, back in the Viking days when Thor was originally traipsing about Midgard without Mjolnir, but I think it's Janborn, his axe?
Yeah,
is that right? It's definitely a Janborn. Could be. I'm not sure.
I just flip back to that panel every time.
Yeah, right. Good work. Good work. But anyhow, so there is part of the storyline is we're delving into time travel. Always a good time, right? Very relevant for those of you watching Loki, Endgame fans. But anyhow, so we're encountering Thor in the Viking days, in the present day, and in the future. So thousands of years in the future, we are learning that Gore the God Butcher has succeeded in his quest to slaughter all these gods. And Thor is all alone by himself on Asgard. Everybody else in Asgard is either dead or has been taken away to who knows where by Gore the God Butcher. And so Thor, in 3 different timelines, past, present, and future, is trying to battle this ever-growing, ever-strengthening menace known as Gore the God Butcher. And the problem is Gore just keeps getting stronger, you guys. Like, he's not getting weaker. He has gained the power of the Necro Sword.
We've talked about that before for people who have listened before.
That's right. All 3 of you, or whatever, 4 cents of you.
Hey,
dozens. There are dozens of you, and we love you.
Hundreds and thousands, maybe millions.
Clearly.
We won't undersell ourselves.
Great time to give a shout out to my guy, Jason Groth. Mr. Groth, flattered and humbled that you are listening to this. What an absolute treat that was. Wow.
We've made it.
What a nugget that was to learn that you have graced us with your ears. That's fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, love it. So Thor battling 3 timelines, Necro Sword being wielded by Gore the God Butcher, making him an exceptionally formidable foe, to the point that Gore is building a God bomb with which, and here's just a little tease as far as like how he made this thing. Gore travels back in time to when all of the universe was being originally created, including the original gods, slaughters one of the original gods, and takes this god's heart to use as the core of the God bomb, which when it detonates, kills all the gods, not just in the present, but in the past and in the future. So it's not just like a bomb in the sense of, hey, it explodes. It crosses over all time. Mind-melting stuff. Phenomenal stuff. So Thor, from the past, present, and future, over the course of this story, wind up in the same timeline trying to do battle with Gore. So you've got 3 Thors against 1 Gore. And let's see.
And it's not a bore.
Get it. Come on. That's great. That's great. And so we got Thor in the past wielding the axe, okay? You got Thor in the present. Fill in the blank with whatever you think you know about Thor. It's probably right. Wielding Mjolnir, good guy, Avenger, all that good stuff. And then Thor of the future, Odin aged, or actually, let me correct that, older than Odin, such as we have known Odin, missing an entire arm. So instead of his own, biological arm, he's got the arm of the Destroyer attached to his shoulder. not bad. And he's also wielding Mjolnir. And the Odin Force, which he now refers to as the Thor Force.
Which is badass. Badass.
So, tremendous story. I don't want to get too deep into it in terms of spoilers because it's really worth the read. So if you've got a spare afternoon, go find Jason Aaron's run on Thor, particularly this is actually the beginning of Jason Aaron's run, and so he has quite a run.
With
it gets
Thor,
gets into Lady Thor, and we'll get into that in the future on our podcast. But this tale of Thor and the God Butcher, like, kudos to Jason Aaron for coming up with an original nemesis that is just freakishly formidable, evil, all the right kinds of qualities that you want in a bad guy. And the art, there it is, yes, Esad Ribic. Stellar artwork, like just gorgeous stuff. And again, cosmic, big, bombastic. I mean, the stakes are enormous. There's really no other Avengers in play. It's Thor. It's our guy Thor on his own, and
I'm pretty sure this is what established Jason Aaron too.
100%.
Because now he's one of Marvel's most popular writers currently.
Yep.
I think he switched over to. Did he do Venom for a little bit? I don't know what he's doing. But he's doing something else.
You're right. He did a little Venom work.
I think he's doing Avengers too.
Yep.
Fact check me on that. But so I have 3 things.
Yes.
1, Gore, the guy in this book. If you want to get a head start, that is going to be the main villain in the new Thor movie,
right,
played by Christian freaking Bale, who's gonna kill it. He's gonna kill it. I'm so excited.
I am so excited.
I'm so excited.
Let's go.
Marvel, I swear to God, if you ruin that for me.
Might be done.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Number 2.
I might do it.
I have to say, Taika, if you don't have Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder in that movie as well, I'm going to be bummed out. This dude is riding a goat. That's not them. Maybe it's one of them reborn, but can we just talk about this?
Right.
That dude's riding a bat.
Yep.
That dude's riding a warthog. This
Right.
dude's riding a unicorn.
Yep.
And that dude's riding a wolf. I've been thinking about that for the past 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Who rides in on a goat?
Dude, it's
amazing.
It's tremendous. It's tremendous. Very imaginative, very original. The dialogue is tremendous. Just the way in which Thor speaks. It's that...
His these and nows.
Yes. Have
which
at
I
these
love
4 days.
I kind of wish Chris Hemsworth did that a little bit.
Agreed. That's probably my biggest gripe or qualm. Gripe's a little too strong of a word because I enjoy the heck out of Chris Hemsworth's Thor.
Yeah.
But totally agree. How much on brand would it be for what he already is doing for him to be dropping have at these at his enemies? I mean, it's fantastic. He's so boastful in this comic. He's so overconfident. Even when he's getting his ass kicked by Gore, he's just dropping all kinds of game, insisting that Gore is about to get split into a million pieces by him, even while he's strung up and helpless. It's glorious. It is such a fantastic, just embracing of the character that Thor is. Here's something that I really appreciate about this. Jason Aaron has fun in the comic in terms of there's plenty of humor, but he doesn't have fun at the expense of, I'm kind of apologizing for who Thor is. This is kind of a little silly, isn't it? It's just I've got Asgard to work with as a writer. I've got the cosmic realms. I'm in. And he enjoys it. He doesn't apologize for it. He doesn't feel, there's no sense of, this is a bit silly, isn't it? No, he's putting Thor on a goat. He's putting the elf on a unicorn. Teaming him up with a giant that doesn't speak. This is after the Gore story. Now they deal with Malekith, which is another fantastic story.
Yeah, that's a good villain too. Who was not done well in the movies.
No. So it's phenomenally worth your time, and something that I appreciate, and this is a common theme for me as a comics reader, is listen, I haven't read any Thor prior to Jason Aaron's run, but I was able to pick this puppy up, dive into it, and did not feel lost. It's just such a well self-contained story. that it doesn't really matter what has or hasn't happened with Avengers, any other tie-ins. Like, this is legitimately just Thor. So if you're looking to dive into something and you want to actually know what's going on, here you go. First time you're ever going to see Gore the God Butcher, right here. So there's no backstory needed. There's no, hey, there's these tie-ins. This is to me peak comics. Tremendous writing, outstanding art, and the kind of story that anybody, like, I could hand this to my wife. She wouldn't read it, but if she did, she'd
look at this and be like,
she'd enjoy it.
Back on the shelf.
Dude, I'm working on it. So I've got her in on the Marvel movies, right? She has fully embraced them. She loves the Marvel movies.
She doesn't know this is coming, does she?
Love the shows. No. And I'm trying to, like, gently, like when we watched WandaVision, and I was like, well, here's the new Avengers comic where Wanda has the breakdown. Take a look. And then just we're working on it, right? It's taking time to get this far. We're just going to take it the rest of the way. So it's just slowly planting the seeds, watering them, letting them grow.
I do think Jason Aaron did a good job of making Thor interesting, because I feel like he's one of those guys one of those characters that could get boring after a while, because it's the same with Superman. He's like, oh, he's all powerful.
Right.
Oh, he fights somebody. Oh, of course he wins because he's so OP.
Yeah. It's all about finding the right villain, the right foil for that kind of a character. And Gore is peak. Malekith is great as well. Gore's my personal favorite out of what I've read so far. But Malekith is great. He introduces another character. Oh my gosh, no, I'm blanking. It's the head of Roxxon. Boy, it's frustrating that I'm forgetting this now. But anyway, the dude ends up essentially being a Minotaur.
Oh, yeah, because that's who...
Dario Agger. There we go.
Because that's who... they were saying Christian Bale might be playing in the new movie.
Sure.
And I was gonna be pissed because I was like, you're gonna waste him on a character that just turns into a Minotaur.
Right. Yeah. Gore the God Butcher, good choice.
Don't you dare do that to me with Christian Bale.
Put anybody else in a Minotaur suit. So he's a really great villain. I think I mentioned Malekith already. Yeah. But then even the turn that Jason Aaron takes later in the run, and we'll get into this sometime down the road, where Thor loses his worthiness and can no longer wield Mjolnir. Like, okay, that's fantastic. And so he has to deal with this new female Thor taking on the mantle of Thor, to the point that our Thor, Odinson, goes, I'm not even worthy of the name. Just call me Odinson. It's pretty cool. So good on Jason Aaron. Embraces the character, embraces the cosmic, the weirdness, has a lot of fun with it, and finds great adversaries or adversarial situations for Thor to deal with. It's tremendous. Can't recommend it enough. Great stuff.
And his granddaughters that help fight too?
Yeah.
I knew they had a part because they all have their own weapons too, don't they?
The Ladies of Thunder. Yep. That's one of the most hilarious parts of the book, when past Thor, so Viking Thor, interacts with his granddaughters, and they're all like relatively the same age, and they're just making fun of him because he's such a just like blockheaded idiot. He's so cocky, he's so arrogant, and they're just like, you are such a dick. Like,
you're such a douchebag.
And he's calling them wenches. I mean, it's fantastic.
That's my point. Why don't we get those? I wish he did say that. Can you imagine that? Although it would be hilarious if in Thor 4, like, he meets up with some Asgardians, and then they're like, "Why are you talking the way you're talking?" And then he starts using the these and thous.
Oh, you know what I would really enjoy would be some have at these, and for him to refer to one of his female companions
as a wench.
As a wench. That'd be incredible. It's certainly okay that word is no longer in common vernacular. Probably shouldn't be. But my gosh, that would be freaking hilarious. So
that'd be awesome.
That's my ask. I'll just send my email to Kevin Feige and see what old Kev Cakes
can
deliver.
Sticks.
That's right. See if Kev's being receptive. If he's like, "Hey, I'm in. I agree. Great idea." That's perfect.
Do you think we're gonna get any time travel with that Thor 4 movie at all?
I mean, anything's on the table at this point with, and we'll get into
like
this.
A young Thor and an old Thor.
Yeah, with what they're doing with what they've done with
I heard
Endgame
he's jacked as crap again.
Loki, good for him. Good for Chris.
Thank God.
If I could look like another man, I would pick Chris. I mean, that's the dream, right? You can't tell me, like, who else is there? He's tremendous. He's a specimen.
It's hard to beat. Maybe Henry Cavill.
Not a bad choice either. No, not a bad choice either. I'm still going to stick with my...
No, I think your choice is solid.
Hemsworth, but let me tell you, it's something else. I'm not sure there's another human being on the planet Earth that looks more like a comic book character than Chris Hemsworth. Like, just cartoonishly cut up. It's absolutely ridiculous. Time travel, I'd like to see some of that, I think. It seems like that's what Marvel's doing again. Get back on track with what they've done with Endgame, with Loki. So, in the multiverse stuff that they're trying to open up. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. And that would be a lot of fun to see, a past Thor come into play, to see current Thor interact with Fat Thor would be hilarious. I mean, there'd be only good opportunities for great humor when Thor is interacting with himself. Like, that's...
What happened to you?
That is only ripe for great things. So I'm in. What do you think? What do you think we're going to see with Thor 4? Because it's a pretty heavy cast list, right? Like,
well, they got the Guardians of the Galaxy in there,
Guardians of the Galaxy,
which I'm going to be. I'm wondering how much of the movie they're going to be in, because it's going to probably set up Guardians 3.
Okay.
I'm assuming Thor's going to separate from them at some point, right?
Oh,
You'd
sure.
think, right? And then Valkyrie's coming back. I know.
Right.
I think there's been rumors Sif might be coming back. And she wasn't even in the third one.
Yeah, she's been MIA for an extended period of time.
Loki,
since Dark World.
This is like the first Thor movie without Loki. So it'll be interesting to see not have him there.
Right.
Because then you have... I mean, is Beta Ray Bill going to show up? Can we get a Beta Ray? Because he's going to need some help. And he doesn't have the Hulk this time,
Right.
He's got...
Right.
I mean, those are his options. Valkyrie, Sif, maybe Beta Ray Bill. Because I'm sorry, no one on the Guardians team is going to help you very much.
Not with Gore the God Butcher.
No.
No.
Oh, and then Jane Foster Thor, I guess.
Right.
We are getting that too.
Right.
So...
Yep. Yeah.
Which makes you wonder how Mjolnir comes back.
It's gonna be fascinating.
I don't know.
I'm trying to hold on loosely because for as much as I enjoy this comics run, I know that the Marvel movies
Aren't gonna be
often
the
do their
same.
own thing, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. So I love the comic. I would love to see. I just want to see Gore be fantastic. That's what I want. Like, Thor's gonna be great. I want to see a great Gore. Like, give me a bad guy in Gore the God Butcher that is as just nasty and formidable in the comic, in the movie as he is in the comic.
Let him murder a bunch of people.
I would just be bummed out if Gore and the talent behind him and Christian Bale is
underutilized.
Right. If he's got like 45 minutes of screen time. It's like, let's see some of this. Let's see what we got here. I want him in that thing from start to finish. That's what I want. I'd be okay if he doesn't die, right? Like, if he persists as a consistent villain for Thor in particular moving forward.
Yeah.
Because such a good bad guy.
Opening sequence, flying through space.
Yep.
They go to a planet. All the gods are dead. And just black goop left behind, because that's what he just leaves behind, is black goop.
Mm-hmm.
And then just a bunch of bodies floating in space from that spot, and then he just tells the Guardians to go because they're all gonna die.
I'm so excited for that movie.
That's what I want.
I'm so excited for that movie.
And then he's like, well, I guess I'm gonna need some help on my level. And somehow Valkyrie gets to space. Maybe Doctor Strange is like, hey, go hang out.
Right.
And then who knows? Well, they're gonna meet Sif at some probably random alien bar.
Dude, how cool of a weapon is the Necro Sword, by the way?
Sick.
It's incredible.
Sick.
It's incredible. It's like in the comic, right? Gore isn't even present on some of these planets, so Thor is going around trying to track Gore down, and he keeps going to these different planets, finding where their gods live. Right, and he finds these dead gods, but there's these. What's the right word for it? There's these like watchdogs like around the bodies of the dead gods that are just made up of the matter of the Necro Sword that Gore has just like left behind to mess with whoever finds the dead gods. It's like so not only do you have a weapon that can like take almost any shape that you imagine, but you can just drop branches of it and go, okay, attack dog here, wild beast here, and I'm just gonna move on to the next thing. Okay, you do you.
And there's no sense. There's no sense of them having them there though.
No.
In reality, he's like, yeah, they're dead. What are they gonna do?
He's just a nasty dude. Just a nasty dude.
Anybody climbs in here,
Tough to deal with that. So pretty freaking sweet stuff. What a great villain. What a great weapon. Heck of a combo. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So, good comic, good content. Loki, you want to talk some final predictions for Loki?
You want to go there first and then end with... Okay.
I think you're going to be on a little bit of I think by the time we get you to Black Widow and how you feel about Taskmaster, it's going to flow.
Okay.
And so I think let's segue gently into that realm.
Okay.
A little Loki talk. So as of today,
Calm
July
before the
13th,
storm.
That's right, calm before the storm, July 13th. We are through episode 5. Episode 6 is coming out on the morrow. So by the time you find half dozen folks listen to this, you'll have had an opportunity to watch the rest of it. But I just kind of want to give ourselves some props, some credit, because we called it.
We've been killing it, ladies and
crushing
gentlemen, on fire.
It's incredible. So really, if
Call
you
me
want
the
to know
Human
future,
Torch.
we're right here for you.
I'm on fire.
There's a very direct correlation. Good for you, literal flames. I mean, we were right about Sylvie. She's not Enchantress, guys. She's a Lady Loki.
I'm good with that.
Yep, she's a Lady Loki. Episode 4 helped justify Episode 3.
Hype us up.
Beefed it up.
Hype us up. Let's go.
We are going to find out that it's in the quantum realm. I'm still so confident that that's a thing. And the TVA is going to get torn down, so it's not lasting after this Loki show. Sorry, everybody. Gosh, what else did we get right? I mean, really, you could say it, and the answer is yes, we got that right. But what I really want to do, now that we've hyped ourselves up, is go on the record and drop some final predictions. Okay? So, again, folks are going to be listening. You're going to be listening to this after it's come out, so there's no opportunity for us to go back and edit this. Final predictions, and I think the first and most critical is who is the man, woman, or thing behind the curtain, pulling the strings, that has created the TVA. The options are about endless. Could it still be the Timekeepers? There could still be Timekeepers. Could it be Kang? Could it be another version of Loki that we haven't met yet? Could it be... fill in the blank. What do you think? I've got my idea, but I
think the Timekeepers were a front, and that there should be a dead giveaway with the we're gonna get into spoilers, guys.
100%.
A little bit.
100%.
So, spoilers for 4 and 5 and the beat before. So, they were definitely a front. So I don't think it's them. They were androids. They died really quick. So,
yeah,
that leaves us with, I think, 3 possible options. One, I think it's very possible that this could be another Loki.
Mm-hmm.
Very possible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to be it, though, personally.
Okay.
But I can see that being like, oh, look who it is. It's another one.
Eagle Loki. We've had crocodile Loki. Now here's a bird.
I love that alligator. that dude bit off a man's hand with no remorse. Stuff. It was fantastic. I think the most likely possibility is Kang the Conqueror. I do think that's the best possibility right now. Do I think it will be it? I kind of yes and kind of no, because they've kind of built Ramona up to be this character where she's going to side with whoever's behind the curtain no matter who it is.
Okay. Because
she's like, I've defended this for so long. They're the ultimate absolute.
Do you think she knows?
No.
Okay.
Because the way she addressed that one chick,
yep,
when she imprisoned her instead of getting rid of her, by the way,
right,
she was like, You don't have a clue either.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think she has a clue, and I think that will set up for Kang because that's Kang's girl. So I think that's a very possible chance, and she's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, he's omnipotent." So I think Kang is a strong possibility. I was gonna say the Watcher might be an option.
Ooh, nice pull on your part. Okay,
but I don't think it will be him either.
Yeah,
because the Watcher doesn't interfere with anything. He just is there.
Just the observer,
so,
literally the Watcher.
Yeah. So for him to be
dumb role, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, can we just pause right there and say, it's fine that character exists in comics, but what a worthless character.
He was made for a narration purpose, for an
100%,
outside look.
What a worthless character. Like, what of all the characters you'd want to be, even if you had to you were forced, no, you got to be an evil character that's not, it's unsavory. No one's really gonna be that. Don't be the Watcher.
The only time he's important is when he's dead.
Oh.
The only time he's important is when he's dead.
What an overrated character. What an overrated... People are like, oh man, the Watcher. Who cares? He can't do anything. He just looks at stuff. Probably a pervert,
and
really. Let's be real. This guy's not okay.
Is that Thor and Jane?
Yeah. This is not an okay person. We're just glossing over the fact that he's watching everything. Everything. And
I'm trying to think.
Unreal.
So that would be my third.
Yep.
My third guess.
Yep. Kind of your distant third.
Yeah.
Kang being the first.
I think the most likely is Kang, but I can't see them wasting a fight with Kang in this. And I shouldn't say it's wasting, but I just can't see the first fight Kang having being Loki when he's going to be the main villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I'm interested to see, and that's why I think your Quantum Realm theory is so solid, because, he is set up for that movie.
Right.
And he's going to be there, hopping from time to time, probably. I wouldn't be surprised if Ant-Man and the Wasp are hopping through the timeline at some point.
Agreed.
And if they're doing that, then the TVA is gone, because it's going to be free willy-nilly.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, yeah. TVA's toast.
So I think Kang is going to be my solid first guess.
Yeah.
I think... I'm trying to think if there's any other, time manipulating people that it could be, and I can't think of anything.
That's good. I'll jump in. So my first choice is actually another version of Loki. That's really the direction I think it's going to go. Because when the show began in episode 1, it ended with Mobius telling Loki the variant that we're trying to hunt down and find is you, another version of Loki. So it, from the get-go, set up the show as this story of Loki essentially against himself. And one way or another, in every episode, it's been Loki against Loki. Whether it's Sylvie, now of course they've partnered up, or the other Lokis that they've discovered with those variants, or just competing with his own nature, right? Dealing with that whole idea of, hey, Loki, it's in your nature to fail, it's in your nature to lose, it's in your nature to not succeed, and him kind of pushing against that, trying to change who he is. So it's a lot of internal conflict, which is really consistent with how WandaVision unfolded. Okay, Wanda battled Agatha Harkness, but a lot of the conflict of that show was Wanda dealing with herself, her trauma.
Yep.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, Sam Wilson dealing with Steve Rogers saying, "You're Cap."
Yep.
Him not feeling worthy or ready for that mantle. Bucky dealing with all of the trauma from his past and the absence of Steve in his life. So again,
everybody's got trauma.
Right. There's these external forces of conflict, but a lot of what the core conflict was these characters, or has been, is these characters dealing with their own shortcomings, faults, issues, and so it would be on brand for what Marvel has done with these Disney Plus shows, for Loki to kind of be on that same thread of it's Loki against Loki, and so that's my strongest hunch.
And they've also kind of set up the potential of how strong a Loki can get. with the old man Loki basically building a fake Asgard.
That scene was so cool.
And I love
that scene was so cool.
Somebody said towards the end he like knew he was gonna die, and he just wanted to see Asgard one last time, so that's why he did Asgard.
Like an intentional self-sacrifice by this old version of Loki, and I just loved what a cool, poignant, powerful scene where he's just bringing Asgard up from the ashes.
Yeah.
And then he knows he's toast, and he just hollers out, "Glorious purpose," and then does a fantastic Loki laugh. Like that shot of his face.
If they ever do an old man Loki series with like an old man Thor, he would be my choice.
That was so good. Like he knew he was sacrificing himself, but it was like he was mocking the enemy that was going to finish him. And so in this one sense, it's this old man Loki who is beaten down, just thinks, listen, we're Lokis, we suck. But then at the last minute, the 11th hour, he goes, no, we can do better than this. He's helping out these other versions of Loki. And yet at the same time, he's mocking his adversary. I mean, that's how Loki would mock Thor when Thor's about to just smoke him, right? Oh, love that scene.
It was good.
Couldn't get enough of that. That is what a banger of a scene. So, anywho, Loki is my clear number one. I think Kang is possible, but here's the deal. That would be such a out of left field, quite frankly, because there hasn't been a single mention of Kang's name. Now, I know not out of left field in terms of, well, there's all these characters.
You mean in terms of the show?
Just in terms of the show, absolutely. Would it work if they wanted to pull him in? Okay, I could get on board with that. But in terms of how the show has set itself up, who it's introduced, I would be really surprised if come tomorrow we're watching episode 6 and Kang is revealed. I just don't think that's the way it's going to go.
But I'm okay with it being that mysterious character that everybody's like, okay, well, why'd he do that? And then boom, movie. And then like they're going to be like, oh, we have to wait for how long now? Because we have no idea what Kang's plan is for the future anyways.
No clue.
He could be...
No clue.
He has the potential to be in like a Loki-esque character where he like hops around. He's the main villain for one movie, but then he's still alive and around. Or he has the potential to be Thanos level. And if they want him to be Thanos level, well, here you go. Here's your introduction.
Yeah.
So, but there hasn't been a lot of... Besides Ravonna or whatever her name is.
Yep.
Besides her, there's no real like ties to him at all, comic wise.
No, there's really not. I think most of the folks that are at the front of the Kang line are really latched onto the Ravonna piece, which is fair. And listen, it's as fair of an argument for those of us when we were watching WandaVision, seeing the character of Agatha going, that's going to be Agatha Harkness, because she, what was her name? What was she calling herself? Agnes. Yeah. Right. And so when she revealed her true name, it was like, we know. Like, we read the comics, we know. So it certainly could be that. I wouldn't be surprised. My distant second would be, obviously there's going to be more that we find out with Ms. Minutes. Like, she's going to have a part to play
I know
in this.
She's got a key.
And so whether it's Ms. Minutes as the Avatar or a different person or entity, it could be that ultimately, yes, Kang has been behind this, but all we see in this final episode is whoever it is that he's been influencing, similar to how at the end of the first Avengers movie they did that Thanos reveal, right? Where we realized, so here's who Loki's getting all these, these Chitauri, here's who he's getting his freaking army from, here's who gave him that staff, here's who's working for that, or who that creepy dude in the hood is working for. I could see that being the case where we don't really...
So like it's an underling for Kang in a sense?
Correct. So in that sense, if someone wanted to say, hey, I called it, it's Kang, and it's really the underling, I wouldn't give him a win, but I'd be like, fair enough. You're closer to being right than I am. My distant third option would be someone that we just won't even anticipate, like Mobius ends up being the bad guy.
Don't do that to me.
I know. I don't want that at all. I
was going to say...
Could happen, but I just find it very unlikely.
And I was trying to think of Miss Minutes being like basically this avatar in a sense for whoever's behind it.
Right.
So I was thinking of like female characters. So your long shot, I'll just throw a long shot out there, could be the actual Enchantress.
Fair enough.
which
Yep.
that's her thing. She manipulates people
enough.
almost as well as Loki does. It is weird to me that there is this obsession with Loki specifically. Like, we're not seeing alternate versions of besides Throg. We did see like a little glimpse of him trying to get to a hammer, but like, you didn't see, oh, there's not a different Iron Man here, there's not a different Spider-Man or a different Doctor Strange, but they're probably going to save those for later. But my point is,
talked about that.
It's only been Loki centric, and that's why I also think that Loki theory could be
I feel good
right,
about it. I feel good about it.
Because who else would be so focused on themselves but Loki? He's that kind of guy. Whether it's like a pure evil version of him, or like a possessed version of him, or I don't know. I really don't know. It'll be interesting.
Well, because along that same line, like, who could be the greatest threat to Loki but another Loki, right?
Yeah.
So I feel good about that, but I'm not married to that idea. I'm just looking forward to seeing how the show concludes. I thought episodes 4 and 5 were tremendous. The one axe I'm going to grind, though, is that at the end of episode 2, and you and I discussed this on our previous podcast episode, Sylvie bombs the timeline.
Oh, and they haven't touched that yet. They still haven't touched that yet.
Oh, like, I think we are genuinely supposed to assume that we're good, like everything's fine, and that's really dissatisfying, because that was such a move that was just rife with potential. It's like, oh my gosh, like, did she just create a bunch of alternate timelines? Did she mess up the sacred timeline? Like, what was the actual impact? And as we discussed, there has to be a rhyme or reason to where she sent those charges. It wasn't just random.
It's got to be picked out. She planned that for like 20 plus years.
Right, and it feels like all that was, even though they haven't like directly addressed it or explained it, was Sylvie just trying to create a distraction to get all the Minutemen out of the TVA so that she had a clear shot at the Timekeepers.
That's a possibility too.
Which is possible, but I'm just really frustrated that they haven't directly discussed it, because it was a big freaking deal. And then we go to episode 4 and we see not the panel, the screen showing the sacred timeline, and there's no branches. It's like, we're good.
But
we're fine. Everything's been fixed.
There's also a possibility too that is addressed at the end. Like,
very much so.
They're like, it's Mobius and Loki, and they're like, so we kind of dinked it, you know.
Right.
Okay, and then another thing I just thought of too is do you think there's any possibility that it could be like Sylvie behind the whole phone door?
I'd be really surprised.
I would be too.
It doesn't
but
feel that way at
I'm just
all.
saying, like, in a Loki
sense,
sense, you don't think she's going to betray at all?
I don't think so. It would catch me off guard.
I also agree with you.
I've got trust there, and so I'd be like, you got me.
I also
me right in the back. You got me. I'm dead.
I also agree with you, but like, in the same sense, she's still a Loki.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're back. Okay. Sorry about that, folks.
Technical difficulties from the old man.
What were we talking about?
What a dippy.
Loki.
Yep, you're on Loki. You're asking if Sylvie could be...
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so either.
I think Mobius is possible. Unlikely.
I hope not.
But possible. I've enjoyed Mobius so much. I'm so glad that...
But he did go back to the TVA.
Yep.
So
he's on the loose. Do you think there's... Let me ask this, because I don't think it's very likely that Mobius is behind any of this. Do you think that Mobius is just Mobius? Or do you think there's a possibility that he's a variant of Loki?
I don't think he's a variant of Loki.
No.
I think he's just Mobius. Honestly, I agree. It all depends on who this villain is, because I could see them going down the route where Mobius is the new guy in charge of the TVA.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, okay, we did some things wrong. We messed some things up.
Okay.
Now we're gonna go fix it.
Sure.
We're gonna establish the multiverse.
Sure.
That's gonna be our job, and then we're gonna keep the multiverse intact.
Okay. I like that theory.
I can see that, and
I
then
get on board with that.
And then the end clip of him will be him on a jet ski, because that is a crime if they don't give him that moment.
Right, we've got to see that.
I think that's more likely for Mobius is because I don't think you want to waste an actor like Owen Wilson on a one shot. You know what I mean?
Just like for one season of this show.
Yeah, that's my personal.
Yeah, if you can find a way to keep him around, he's been a delight. It feels like for both his character and Tom Hiddleston's Loki in particular, this is probably it.
Can you just imagine him recruiting different versions of different characters and being like, all right,
that'd be incredible.
We're protecting the multiverse, and I'm in charge. I'm the man in the chair.
I just enjoyed it so much when Mobius called Loki a bad friend. Just killed me.
They're dynamic.
Just killed
They're
me.
dynamic. Oh, shoot. I just cramped up.
Ooh, that's a good feeling. That's a good feeling. Get it.
Oh, okay,
that scene
my gosh,
that
ow.
just slayed me. Dude, calf cramp?
Oh, it was the hammy. Oh, that was bad.
That's not good in the hamstring.
Oh, I'm going to stretch that out.
It's not good anywhere, but yeah.
Anybody who's watching that video is thinking I was dying. Oh, I wish I could have clipped that. Holy crap, that hurt so bad.
Good for you, except I'm so sorry.
This last 2 minutes
so
has been a struggle. We hit the pause button. I cramped up.
Incredible stuff.
But
I'm looking forward to it. I don't feel, like I said earlier, I don't feel married to any one particular way of it has to end this way. I've really enjoyed this show, and so I feel like it's gonna take some real effort for them to F it up to where I go, well, that just sucked. What a waste of time. Could happen, but I think they're gonna tie it off in a way that I'm gonna be able to have said I enjoyed that was satisfying, and I'd watch it again.
Honestly, the key to it all is figuring out what that place is they're going to. They've just said it's the end of time, but it was a big-ass castle. It was a big-ass castle just floating in space.
Didn't that make you think of Victor Von Doom?
In a way, but it also...
That's not who it's going to be, but...
It definitely... you can also throw out, like, the Black Knight, but I don't think that's going to happen. The only thing that you could maybe argue was Merlin or some shit, setting up for Eternals. But the thing... I mean, that could be something Kang took out of time, but I feel like that would have been more... He would have been more of, like, a pyramid kind of guy, because he did rule Egypt for a long time.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think we're getting Kang.
I don't know. I don't... That's the thing, though. I don't... It could be some off-kilter Doctor Strange villain that we haven't heard of yet as well. Because that just seems like mystic arts written all over it, in my opinion. But...
Right.
I don't know, because that's the thing. Whatever that place is, if they give us a real name, you can tie it immediately to somebody else. And I think that's why they just were like, oh, here's a big floating castle. So I kind of want to... We'll wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
You'll get a text from me at 7 p.m. at night being like, holy shit.
I got to figure out when I'm going to watch it tomorrow. Can I get a full day?
I can't.
A terrible idea.
I can't watch it till I get off work.
Oof.
So it'll be like 4:30, 5 o'clock before I can watch it.
Dang.
I'm watching it tomorrow, though. I can't wait.
Absolutely.
That can't wait.
Good things. All right. Good Loki talk. Good to get the final thoughts on the record. It's been a banger of a show. Looking forward to seeing how it ties off. Speaking of bangers, let's talk Black Widow.
Do you want to go first?
I'll go first.
It might be a good idea if you go first.
I will go first. First of all, just good to see a Marvel movie in the theater again.
Oh my gosh, right?
Woo! What a great thing.
I had the recliner, I was telling you earlier, I had the recliner seats because in my town that I live in, we live 5 minutes away from this beautiful theater, and I went into IMAX, and there were only like 12, 13 people in said theater.
It's glorious.
At 10 p.m. on a Sunday.
It's glorious. Oh my gosh. Pretty much have the place to yourself. That's what it feels like.
I could have cried.
Yeah.
But...
So here's the thing.
I did kind of cry, but that's we'll get there.
I heard this opinion, and I concur strongly with it. That probably the biggest thing that Black Widow has going against it. And by the way, spoilers. Okay, if you haven't seen it, this is
spoilers, and this is like the first weekend after. So
yeah, this is where you stop listening for today until you watch it and then come back. But
they might have stopped listening after we talked about Thor.
Could have been. Or I called the watcher a pervert. You know, who knows? There were a lot of opportunities for people to log off.
That's my highlight, by the way.
That's got to be the title of the episode, right? But I think the biggest thing that this movie has going against it has nothing to do with the movie, has everything to do with the timing in which it's been released. Because the setting of the movie is after Civil War, pre-Infinity War.
And they should have released it during that time.
Yes, they could have released it during that period. It would have made sense. It would not have detracted or hampered any of our enjoyment of those movies. Frankly, it would have made more sense than releasing Captain Marvel between Infinity War and Endgame.
Well,
that's its own issue.
At least,
I think that's the biggest thing this movie has going for it. And when I try and think of it in that context, I go, okay, you know what? Because I came away from this movie going, okay, pretty good. I didn't love it, but it was good. But I think had it come out in its appropriate sequence, and whenever it is that I go back through the Marvel catalog,
if you go by time
sequence, I think I'm really going to enjoy it after having watched Civil War and before watching Infinity War. I think it's really going to be, it's going to feel like a better fit.
Well, see, if they would have at least built the future up a little bit more than just the teaser at the end.
Yep.
And we'll get into. I have more beef there, but
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But if they would have just built up for the future where they're like, okay, this is definitely the direction that this character's title's going to go, and this is why we waited so long to release it, then it would have made sense. But they didn't really do that.
Yeah. So I feel bad for fans, like for people that would say, hey, I'm a fan of Black Widow, the character, or fans of Scarlett Johansson, because I feel like she is the actress and Black Widow is the character. We're kind of done a disservice by the timing. Listen, I understand COVID was a thing, but even without COVID, if you know that this is the story you want to tell it between Civil War and Infinity War. Don't wait to shoot the movie
or make
until
it
after Endgame.
Or make it significant. Make it a significant of why it's Phase 4. Why is this Phase 4? Because to me, it should have been Phase 3.
Yeah, it's a Phase 3 movie that's being released during
Phase 4 time. It's not,
So that's too bad. I think the movie in of itself is really enjoyable. I like the dynamic. I loved the Red Guardian was tremendous.
One of my favorite characters.
Our boy Alexei.
I'm praying Disney Plus. This is my pitch right now. Give me a Russian Avengers led by that man. Do it for me, please, for the love of God. That would be amazing.
Yeah, he was gold, and he was tremendous. The entire cast was fantastic, and probably the most enjoyable part of the movie was just learning more about Black Widow's backstory. So that was certainly a strength. Getting to see her upbringing, the individuals that she had called her family, even though they weren't blood relatives by any stretch of the imagination, helped flesh her character out more. So it did add to the Black Widow character. I think it did that really well. I wish some of the action scenes, I don't know how to phrase this any other way, I just wish they would have been better.
I think they were kind of hard to track at some points.
Yeah.
With the flow of the camera work.
Yeah, it felt like a undefined style. Like, what kind of a style do we want to pick for Black Widow in this movie? And I thought that was a bummer because she's a really capable combatant. Yeah. And so I would have liked to have seen her have had another legit round with the Taskmaster character. Not yet. Soon. Same with Red Guardian and his fight with Taskmaster. Soon. So that is consistently a beef of mine with action movies, where it's like, listen, you're an action movie. Your action needs to have a clear style. We need to be able to see that. And her fight with her sister was probably the coolest fight in the movie. And yet there's not a lot of tension in it because you're like, they know each other.
Well, why are they even fighting in the first place?
Why is her sister pulling a knife on her?
Well,
that got a little serious. Whoa, wait. Okay, if we're going to use household objects to beat each other around a little bit, fair enough. But
Spies.
you just pulled a knife. Hello, that's going to hurt. We just saw her kill someone with a knife. She's good with it.
I feel like her character, Black Widow's character as a whole, would have benefited more from the Aquaman fight scenes.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Where it was a pure pan of everything going on, and it was just a consistent no pun intended, but there was such a flow to the fight scenes in Aquaman. That's why I actually really like that movie, is because the fight scenes are so well done.
Yeah.
Every time when Black Manta comes in throughout that whole town or whatever, fantastic. So she would have.
That's a hell of a scene.
And it would have just shown off her, because she's like flexible and can do a bunch of different stuff. That kind of camera work gives her room to work with. Sure. In a sense.
Yeah, and there were times where they like went slow motion, and so it was kind of a breakup of slow motion, and then we're back to real speed. But they didn't commit to that. Like they did that early in the movie, and then it wasn't a consistent style. So I was thrown off a little bit by that. I agree. So I really enjoyed the characters in the movie: Black Widow, Alexei, what was it, Mama Medina. Why am I blanking on her sister's name?
Yelena.
Thank you, Yelena.
It's like Melania and Yelena.
Right.
Which they sound very, very similar.
Right. So I enjoyed the characters, both what we knew going in and what we learned. And as they were introduced in this movie, I thought they were fleshed out really well. So a good movie. Not going to be in my top 10 or top 5, but good movie, good entertainment. And, it had Taskmaster in it.
I'll just start with my good stuff
before
I end with my bad stuff.
Okay.
So, firstly...
Boy, I thought of you with Taskmaster. I just did.
I am going to say this firstly. So, Florence Pugh is definitely in my top 3 for celebrity crushes after that movie.
That's fair.
Holy crap.
That's fair.
And I'll end it at that.
She was terrific.
I love her character.
Yep.
And I'm very excited for her to be the next Black Widow. And...
no doubt.
That end credit scene... because we saw Falcon and the Winter Soldier first with Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character.
Right.
Picking up U.S. Agent. She's picked up Black Widow. And that Black Widow doesn't know that she's bad. I think she's bad. Because the fact that she's having her go off of Hawkeye confirms every suspicion that she's actually probably Hydra.
She's not good.
No, for sure.
She's not good.
And which is, I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus is a fantastic choice to get in there. I think she's going to be that perfect amount of conniving. But
exquisite choice.
So yeah, Florence Pugh's going to be in Hawkeye. They've already said they're going to try to get her in a bunch of different things. Great. Also,
good passing of the mantle. Like totally.
Oh, clean. Like, and just ends
totally
with her at the grave.
Yep.
And yeah,
it doesn't feel forced at all.
I think she's gonna fight Hawkeye, find out, okay, Hawkeye definitely didn't want her dead.
They'll be chums.
And then they'll figure it out, and then
That'll be a fun dynamic.
I'll be curious to see how they use her going forward, but I'm super excited for her character.
Yeah, no doubt.
She's got like the perfect amount of sass compared to Scarlett Johansson. Like their sister dynamic through the whole thing is hilarious. It's really hilarious.
It worked really well, didn't it? It was really natural.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Yelena has the sass. Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow is
all serious all the time.
Right.
She's
sarcasm,
down to business.
Like
we're gonna
drop
get it.
that in there, but not sass.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, Red Guardian. We already touched that. I thought he was fantastic. I'm so excited.
Time out. Okay, so Florence Pugh in the top 3. Who else is in the top 3? We gotta know. You gotta put this on the record.
Selena Gomez.
Okay.
Do I have Florence? I think I have.
You can go beyond 3.
I think
cap it at 5 for now.
I'll cap it at 3. I think Florence Pugh's number 2.
Woo!
And I'll say Emma Watson's number 3. Okay. Also, that's
and Selena's number 1.
Oh, Selena's number 1. But
there was a question.
No, there's no question. I will say this too. Florence Pugh's 24 years old. Mm-hmm. She's going to be around for a while. Thank God.
I didn't realize. I think that's about...
She's my age.
I think that's roughly the same age. Okay, so you've got a chance there.
In a sense of like, can you imagine me suiting up as Johnny Storm in the next 2 years?
You've got time. You've got time. Insane, they haven't officially announced the cast for Fantastic
Marvel,
Four.
I will dye my hair blonde and I will go all out.
Do it.
I swear to God, I'd be amazing at it. But besides
so good
the point,
for you. Love your
that's
plan.
my pitch.
Love your life path. That's great. It's fantastic. But I didn't realize, I was reading an article, Scarlett Johansson was, I think, roughly the same age when she took on the Black Widow role in Iron Man 2. Like, she wasn't really...
Which is surprising to me.
I
thought she was like in her 30s.
Yeah, I didn't have her pegged as old, but definitely older than that. So she's still just in her mid-30s currently.
Which,
so
we could have kept
Kudos
her around then.
Yep. But hey, I get it. To your point, really good seamless transition from the Natasha Romanoff character to the Yelena. Do we know her last name yet? Probably not. So felt very natural. Doesn't cheapen any of what we've seen or enjoyed in terms of Natasha Romanoff's character. So she still has that decade of solid contributions to the Avengers and now her own solo movie. Good stuff. Okay. Continue.
So we'll get...
So positives. Florence
I'm trying
Pugh.
to think. Yeah, Florence Pugh's positive.
That's great.
The clean pass
You bet.
is a positive.
You
Red
bet.
Guardian is a positive.
Yes. Alexi. He had some great lines. My gosh.
Oh, when he's talking about what do you think of my rival? And they're like, who? And they're like, Captain America. In a geopolitical sense. And we're like, what? Who cares? Like he's like that annoying father for them, and it worked perfectly.
I just love that he's a past his prime superhero who is refusing to acknowledge that he's past his prime.
Yeah.
And who is trying, not only is refusing to acknowledge that he's past his prime, but is trying to get everyone else to be like, I still got it, right?
Yeah.
Come on, tell me. You tell me I've still got it.
The whole opening sequence with him coming back is just him taking his arm wrestling. I think it'd be great to see.
And then he's trying to get some action. He's like, I've been in prison. I have a lot of energy. It's like, oh my gosh, this guy is just oozing confidence.
You know how
oozing confidence.
You know how great it would be too if like they do a series or whatever, and he just gets back into shape and he's just jacked. That'd be awesome. His redemption arc.
I always want him fat. I always want him overweight. At least in some capacity. Maybe he doesn't have to be like fat Thor.
Yeah.
But I don't want him svelte. I want him on the verge of being a mall Santa. Like, that's great. That's great.
I do want to see, I would like to see what he could have been capable of in his prime.
Sure.
And he did get a shield. He took the Taskmaster shield.
Oh, man, you're right.
So he got a shield.
Okay.
Might not be as good as Cap's, but he's got one.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So we'll just get into the bad stuff.
Okay, so that's Taskmaster.
Well, no, we'll get to there.
Mm-hmm.
So the first beef that I have is that there's I don't know why he's in prison. They're just like, he was done with me, threw me in prison for 20 years. Why? Why was he done with you? Mm-hmm. You were a super soldier. What else? Why in the first place did he put you into the home? It didn't make sense to me that you're wasting one of your best weapons in a prison.
Sure.
Because he would have done anything for you. He was dedicated.
That would have been pretty easy to explain, too. It would have been very on point with the character to have said that, well, he just got annoyed with me, right? I was obnoxious. I pissed him off too many times. There could have been something.
But even then, that wouldn't have been enough for me to be okay, he's such a... Can you imagine if Nick Fury was just like, all right, Cap, I'm annoyed with you. Prison, you go. He's not going to do that to Captain America.
Russia, man.
Friggin'
Russia.
I just didn't...
I don't disagree.
That didn't click with me. And then, before I get into it, can we just talk about how last episode we just legitimately got done talking about how villains... sometimes in the Marvel Universe are just wasted potential in the movies. I went on a Mandarin rant for 5 minutes in the last episode, and you can find it and quote me on that.
Yeah, this wasn't the best. This wasn't the best villain.
3 words, Kevin, sir. How dare you? How dare you do that to me? First of all, and in my other podcast, I called this shit too from a mile away. First of all,
you called it in our previous episode.
Yeah, I called all of it. I called all of it. Firstly, how dare you make all of the abilities based on a freaking thing of goggles? Oh yeah, we're just going to watch TV all day, and then goggles just infuse it into my brain, and then sometimes it picks the certain ones that it needs. How dare you?
Some sweet goggles.
Secondly, character design. That is the shittiest costume you could have gave him. I don't care if China's down your throat. You give him a skull or you just don't do him. You leave him alone. Oh my gosh, that irritates the shit out of me. Thirdly, I could have called it was going to be the daughter. I could have called it. I didn't call it during the movie. I could have definitely called it, though, if I would have thought about it. That's how little I cared about Taskmaster. I didn't care about what was underneath the mask. That was never important. It should have never been important. Fourth, there was no dialogue for them at all. She was a foot. Yeah, see, you see what you're doing to me? She was a foot soldier. Great. She was just one tier up from a Black Widow, barely. And it was the dude's daughter, who doesn't care at all. Why? And then you kept her alive? Kill her off! No one cares at this point. You blew it. There's no building it back up, because guess what? You build her back up, she's going to be a hero. I don't want her to be a hero. I want Taskmaster to be a mercenary. Why don't you just be like, why don't you throw 15 gold tokens at the guy and be like, hey, go kill her. And he'll be like, okay. And then the next scene, he's like, hey, go kill her again. And he's like, I'm going to need more money. This is going to be a lot more challenging. Give me money. And then at the end of it, after the main guy dies, just be like, yeah, I have no beef with you anymore. He's not paying me. That's what I want. I was, you know what? I was going to have you print off a bunch of pictures of Taskmaster, and I forgot. And I was going to be like, this is what he should have looked like, and this is what you freaking gave me. Anuses. Assholes. I'm so mad. And then, speaking of villains that I don't give a shit about, I did not give a shit about the leader of the Red Room. Did not care. He was a He-Man woman hater for no reason. You know what the worst throwaway line in that entire movie was?
I'd love to hear what you think.
It was this line right here. He legit looks at her and he's like, yes, you know, we use these people because they are the most, like, how did he word it? It's going to piss me off. But he's talking about how women are just, we have a plethora of them and we can just use them and waste them. Why did you say that? Why do you hate women? There's no point. And then you're using them as secret agents because why? Are you a pervert? I don't know. Because there's no backstory. We just know he's making agents. There's no drive. He just has control of the government. Why do you have control of the government? Do you want to rule? We don't know because you never frickin' tell us. Why? And then I'm so angry.
How does he have his own floating?
Yeah. How is he funded? Also,
like, is he supposed to be the Russian version of S.H.I.E.L.D., which would make sense because...
But we don't know. They never go into it.
Right, exactly.
And then, oh yeah, can we talk about this one too? Oh yeah, so he wears this fragrance, and if you smell it, you can't hurt him. If you're a widow, you can't hurt him if there's a fragrance that you smell. What the hell is that shit? Just let her bust him up. Or, you know, let her fight Taskmaster again at least. And, like, also, can we also talk about how little they go into the move copying? First time, she copies Black Widow. Second time, it doesn't even show that they access it. She just has a bow and shoots it. We see the bow and arrow one time. She throws the shield occasionally, but, I mean, the only reason you know it's Captain America is because it's a shield. And then after that...
See, I didn't even pick up on that in the movie. I didn't even realize that was... Like, they didn't even make it a clear enough aspect of the character that, hey, this character mimics the movements of opponents.
And that's like a throwaway line, too. Yeah. And then, can we talk about how she just randomly has access to Black Panther claws? And it's not mentioned why she uses that specifically or against Red Guardian. At least with Taskmaster, the actual comic version, he probably picks that fighting style because it's good against that person. But there's no context to why they're like she didn't lose. She probably threw the shield. But where's the bow at? She just carries the bow randomly. It's not like a part of her at all times. Taskmaster has a sword, and I think she used it maybe... Did she use a sword? And by the way, where'd she pick up the sword? Because There is not a single superhero that's been introduced yet in the timeline that uses a sword all the time. So who's she looking at? For real, who's she looking at? Is she just looking at people online that maybe use one occasionally? Watching
swords are cool.
Watching Loki do some dagger flips? Like what? I don't understand. Marvel, why'd you have to do this to me? I didn't want to do this. I wanted to go in and enjoy Taskmaster and be like, you know what? He could come up again. He could if the right person pays him. Guess what? He would have been a great person for Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character to have under her control. Val would have done great with Taskmaster. Those two could have had like a Suicide Squad-esque relationship where she just throws money at him and he goes kills people for her.
Could have been buds.
But we don't have that because you ruined it. This is your fault. I'm angry because of you. And you know what? Normally after a rant like that, I'd feel better, but I feel worse.
I was just going to ask if you felt better.
I feel worse.
Oh.
How dare you? You know how sad I was in the movie theater after all that? I was like, I'm gonna have to go to JP on Tuesday and be upset. I actually want to hear your thought process on that. So
I don't like. Here's the deal. I don't disagree with any of it. My biggest point of disconnect in the movie was why is this Dreykov guy why is he that bad? I mean, let me rephrase that. Not why is he bad, but not why is he the bad guy, but why is he bad? To your point, it's like we don't know anything about his motivations. He's just here as the bad guy. It's like, and he's an overweight white dude in a suit. Like that, you put him up against Black Widow. It's like, okay, Black Widow wins. This is not a worthwhile adversary. And aside from being a dick, there wasn't a lot about him that made it worthwhile for him to be the bad guy. And I could understand if you're going, hey, here's the blend of you've got the mind, the planning with Dreykov, and then you have the execution, the muscle, the action with the character of the Taskmaster, right? So there's a partnership there. Okay, but when Dreykov is hyping up his Black Widows, it's like, so who are you, like, how are you using them? Like you're saying, hey, they can topple governments. Whose? Where? Like there's a lot of hype and just not a lot of delivery when it comes to Dreykov and his widows. So I was underwhelmed by that. I get it. Like there was a possibility for them in this movie to really lean into the human trafficking element, which is obviously a very evil, nasty thing. And in the opening credits... And so relevant to today as well. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and so in the opening credits, I thought, wow, with the scenes that they were flashing through as they were going through the credits, I thought that's the direction they're going to go. And it would have been strong, it would have been powerful, it would have been a little less family-friendly. And that's okay. But it would have been really impactful. And so they chose not to, and I think that was a miss. But they could have salvaged that with getting the Taskmaster right, and they didn't. That character in the comics has such a unique skill set of being able to mimic, to your point, not due to any benefit of exceptional technology, but just through his own skill set. And why was there a need to change that? You could have gave him a Disney Plus series where he just goes and hunts heroes. Why was there a need to change that? Why couldn't he or she would have been like, it's great if you want to say, hey, we're going to make Taskmaster a female character. Fair enough. That's great. But why does it have to be? It depends. Depends on how you do it. Let me put it this way. If someone that's not latched on to Taskmaster with any sort of expectations of, hey, I've read the character in the comics, therefore I expect this. I would have been okay with a female Taskmaster that has the skill set of being able to mimic their opponent's movements. Like, cool. That's great. I'm okay with it if it's not forced and the only reason they did it is to make her a girl. Yep. Like, if they actually found an actress and was like, you know what, she'd be really great for the role, what we're trying to do with it, fine. But don't shove down the throat that,
a woman.
Sure. Sure.
You know what I
Just for the
mean?
sake of it.
Yeah, don't
Make it a great character.
make them a woman for the sake of being a woman. That's the only time I have a problem with the PC-ness of our culture today, which is, again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. We're going to get in real touchy subject if I keep going. But my point is...
No, but you're saying don't just do it for the sake
of doing it.
Having a female character. Do Yelena, which is a fantastic female character. Don't just turn
she's
Taskmaster
fantastic.
into a woman for the sake of it. Dude, I support that.
Because that's how I kind of felt like it was. It's like, you thought the daughter was dead. She's not.
That was too bad. I agree. It feels very much Mandarin Iron Man 3-esque, where you have a character with all sorts of potential, and they intentionally, and that's the hard part to understand, is why intentionally go in a cheaper direction?
Well, Dreykov was pretty much, to me, a knockoff William Stryker from X-Men 2 in the sense of he's a government official. Well, William Stryker is. We have no idea what Dreykov's up to because, again, you don't touch it. Dreykov was definitely working for the Russian government at one point and then got the dude into Red Guardian into prison for God knows why.
Yeah. Guy had too much power, too many resources
for
not
no
to be explained.
reason. No reason
like, just tell
at
us he's
all.
running the Russian version of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Give it its own name, and that's all we need to know. None of us Americans like Russia. We get it. We're like, sure.
Commie scum. But
Right. So, don't disagree, ma'am. Sorry I don't feel better after your rant.
I've had that pent up since Sunday. I hope you know that I've saved it for you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you
allowing
it to boil for such a long time. Here's where I'm surprised. Marvel got such stern pushback with the Mandarin that they revealed in Iron Man 3. I didn't think they would do that again. That's what they did with Taskmaster. Really? I mean, it's the same thing. It surprised me so much.
There's so much potential with the character, and you wasted it.
Yeah.
Watch, they're gonna give her a Taskmaster series or some shit, and I'm not gonna care. I really don't care now. Like, you took the fun. Like, at least with Thor, you made him cool. Like, you made me want to.
How they redeem.
You can't redeem it.
Taskmaster. That's a done.
I mean, even with like Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, you can kind of bring her back, and it'll be okay because she didn't leave off on a terrible note, and her character is actually semi-sympathetic. But like with,
it's tough. Okay, so bring it back a little bit. Overall, the movie as a whole. I know you can't separate Taskmaster from it, so I'm not asking you to. But your overall takeaway.
I was gonna, you know what? Sunday, I was like, you know what? That movie was a 7. And now I've thought a lot about it. It's a 6 at best. 5, probably a solid 5. 6 at best. Because I think the way you have to deal with this movie is to like really enjoy it. Is this really isn't about the villain at all. This is about Black Widow dealing with her trauma. Yep. So for some, and I'm not saying it's a bad direction, but for some reason right now, Disney Plus and Marvel have been on this same page of, you know what, all this bad shit's happened after Endgame, and everybody's dealing with all this shit that they have on their plate. We're gonna deal with that trauma. We're gonna unpack that trauma. And that's fine because there's a lot of people who deal with that shit. And maybe that's good for them to see how other people in media go through it. And maybe that'll help them. I'm not against that, but I don't. It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder what they're building up towards because, like we said earlier, everybody in the Disney Plus shows so far have gone through some sort of trauma that they're dealing with. And I feel like with Loki, there's going to be more trauma. In this last episode, I would like. Can we see Sylvie? Are we going to see Sylvie die? Is that a possibility? I think that's
she's fine.
I think that's a 50-50.
Hiddleston's toast.
You think Hiddleston's going to be the one that dies?
Yep. No doubt.
Yeah, I don't because he wants to come back and keep playing Loki as long as he wants, as long as Marvel will let him. So I don't know if this will be his swan song or not.
Feels like it's it to me.
But,
well, here's the deal. Black Widow, big takeaway we can have is, hey, it's a seamless pass off from Natasha to Yelena. We'll take that.
It's a good legacy movie.
Yeah. We'll let it.
It's a solid legacy movie.
All right, man.
Are we ending on that?
We gotta tie this puppy off. We've had some great talk. That's good. Anything you wanna say for the people before we?
I'm going to say this. I'm so glad we ended with Black Widow and not started, because it would have ruined the rest of the episode for me. I'm not going to lie. I didn't realize how angry and upset I was until after I got it out, and now I'm worse off. So, you're welcome.
Amazing stuff.
I'm so mad.
Hey, good news is you got a few weeks to work through it. We'll come back. We'll come here fresh.
I'm
like, we can find that makes us optimistic. There's got to be something out there.
Watch Loki just
there you go.
Stab me through the chest, and then I come back in 2 weeks and we're like,
more rants.
What the hell happened?
I think we'll find a way. I think we're in good shape here, buddy.
So, all right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap that up. You got anything?
No. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And hey, if you have any friends that are desperate for content, no, but in all seriousness, if you got folks that are into comics or want to get into comics, send them our way. And feel free to hit us up. DM us, ask us, hey, what should I be reading? We've got some good suggestions for you.
I promise you that we won't ruin comic books like Marvel ruined Taskmaster for me.
All. Tell you what, comic books it's such a big ocean. Where on earth do you dip that toe in?
Where are your guys?
Let me tell you what, we've got some good experience under our belts. We've got some good intel that we'd be happy to share with you. Good places to start.
We are also on the TikTok now under Magic Beans Productions.
Wow. Let's go.
Yes, so that is, if you want to see me and JP talk about comics, boom, there it is. If you want to see me and my other co-hosts on my other show, Cloudy with a Chance of Beans, not a shameless plug, and where we just shoot the shit, that content will also be on there as well. So come check us out. Love it. Yeah. That wraps it up.
All right, folks.
Godspeed.
Peace out.